all the participants. Actually, we are lucky to have Dr. Professor Gampir, a person who does the maximum complex intervention in the country, is along with us today for this program. We should understand that a drug-eluting balloon is coming up in the world over, and that is going to be accepted as an FDA-approved product for the first time in the world, sirolimus eluting drug-eluting balloon and drug-eluting stent in the platform of and the background of complex coronary intervention. The cases and the discussion will be done by Professor Kampir. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pratap, for your kind introductory words. I have been assigned the task of introducing a new concept which has been evolved by the Concept Medical Technologies and Envision. This is a drug-eluting stent with a drug-coated balloon sirolimus eluting platform in complex coronary cases. Now, how this stent, which is called Abluminous DES Plus, different from other technologies which we have seen over the past 2.5 decades. Now, let me give you the sum of the unique features of the stent. The first is that this stent has, unlike others, an abluminal coating. And why abluminal coating is important because it facilitates monodirectional drug release, leading to much faster re-endothelialization. The second important feature of this particular stent is a fusion coating. And this fusion coating, which is a coating of drug both on the balloon as well as on the stent, facilitates homogeneous drug delivery to the entire length of the lesion. The drug enters into the vessel wall and gives uniform drug delivery to the lesion, which addresses the issue of geographical miss and prevents proliferation. The other important features of the stent is a edge coating, which is for the first time that this stent has provided. And by edge coating, we mean that there is an additional 0.5 millimeter of coating on the proximal and distal edges of the stent. And this is aimed to prevent any edge restenosis. Then once the stent is expanded, then it forms a biodegradable film because it is on a biodegradable polymer. And this allows the uniform drug delivery over a large surface area of the lesion. And there are less chances of distal microembolism and slow flow. Now, when we talk of the stent platform, it's a hybrid cell design. By hybrid, I understand that it consists of open cells in the middle segment and closed cells in both the proximal and distal ends. And then there is a 0 foreshortening design and unique stud design, which allow it flexibility and a larger contact surface with the vessel wall. The number of cells depend upon the size of the stent. For sizes of 2.25 to 2.5 millimeter, the stent has got a 6-cell design. For 2.75 to 3.5 diameter stents, it has got a 8-cell design. You can see here that there are 8 cells on the distal and proximal edges of the stents. And then for diameter of 4 millimeter, it has got a 10-cell design. So this allows a adequate expansion and provides you a good access to the side branch. When we look at the circular cell diameter, well, it ranges from 0.83 millimeter for a stent of 2.25 to a diameter of 1.06 millimeter for a stent of 4 millimeter. And when fully expanded, the circular cell diameter, as you can see here, varies from 4 millimeter to as much as 6.7. And this gives us a easy accessibility of the side branch when you have to do a bifurcation stenting. With regard to the drug, as we understand that it is a sirolimus eluting, which is an anti-proliferative drug, and the concentration of the drug is 0.7 microgram per millimeter surface area of the stent. The maximum drug is delivered to the vessel wall from 7th day, as you can see here, up to the 48th day. And then, so 50% of the drug is released in the first 7 days, and This is called the burst phase, and almost 70% of the drug is released in 48 days. The polymer matrix is degraded over a period of 6 months. The overall stent is highly flexible. It has got excellent conformability, remarkable side branch access, zero foreshortening, and excellent radial strength. Well, when we talk of these features, we have to convince the users that these unique features translate into excellent both short and long-term clinical outcomes. To study the clinical behavior of this stent, several studies have been performed over the last few years. The first one was a N-Abluminous 1 study, which was a observational study conducted on 40 patients. It was a single-arm, single-center study, and this study is closed because it has shown excellent results. Thereafter, there was a N-Abluminous E registry, which was again conducted on 2,500 patients, and this was single-arm, multi-centric study with real-world lesions. And the results of this have already been presented and published. Then came the dedicated registry, which was a prospective multi-center spontaneous clinical registry. And this is supposed to register 5,000 patients. Till last year, 912 patients have been enrolled, but now the enrolling is a little slow because of the pandemic. And then there are randomized studies, most important of which is Ability DM Global randomized study. This is a prospective, multinational, randomized, open label study, which in which the recruitment is ongoing. Let us look at the results of some of these important studies. The N-Abluminous E registry, which was a post-marketing registry of abluminal DES sirolimus eluting stent. This study was carried out in 31 centers all over in the country. And the follow-up was at 1 month, 9 months, 1 year, and up to 5 years. And when we look at the various endpoints, you can see that it has a powerful performance across all clinical endpoints. The MAZE at 1 year shown in the cyan color is only 2.8%, and at 2 years it was only 3%. Cardiac death, target vessel myocardial infarction, target lesion revascularization, and stent thrombosis were all very low. In this registry, there were, out of these 2,500 patients, 860 patients had diabetes of various types. Majority was a non-insulin dependent diabetes. And when the results of this particular stent was compared in diabetics versus non-diabetics, the diabetics behaved as good as the non-diabetics. And you can see here, you can see here the diabetics had a MAZE rate which was not statistically different from the non-diabetics, so also cardiac death and other endpoints were quite comparable to the non-diabetics, thus emphasizing doses was almost nil, even in patients with acute myocardial infarction. And then is the ongoing randomized clinical trial of this abluminous stent versus everolimus eluting DES for percutaneous coronary intervention in patients with diabetes. Mind you, this is only in patients with diabetes, and this is an ongoing study, the principal investigator being Antonio Colombo and Azim Latif. I won't go into the details of this study, but before that, after that, I will tell you some of my own experience. We are doing an abluminous 2 observational study, which is the use of abluminous in real-world lesions, where we are having in-hospital and 1 year follow-up results. But what I'm going to present you today is in-hospital and 1 month data. Now, we plan to study 100 patients. Unfortunately, again, because of pandemic, the enrollment is slow. But we have already conducted this study in 52 patients from February of last year to May 21. 41 patients, which is about 80% were males. Diabetes was a risk factor in close to almost about 35% of the patients. Almost about 50% of the patients had acute coronary syndrome. 10% of the patients received this stent because of ST elevation myocardial infarction. Other had exertional angina or post-myocardial infarction angina. Majority of the patients, almost about 80% of the patients had multi-vessel disease, either two vessel or three vessel. Three patients were treated for left main coronary artery stenosis. This is the percentage of patients who were enrolled for the complex lesions, long, diffuse, and highly calcified, requiring rotablation, constituted nearly one-third of these patients. One-fourth were long lesions. 7 patients had CTO, including 4 patients had CTO, including diffuse in-stent restenosis. Left main bifurcation was done in 3 cases. In fact, it's not 2, 3 cases, and non-LMC bifurcation in 6 patients. Majority of these patients, almost about 50%, had received a stent ranging from 24 to 40 millimeter in length, and the other 50% had received a stent less than 20 millimeter. In these 52 patients, overall 145 stents were used, with an average number of stents per patient being 2.8, and this is a list of the other stents used with Ablume. Available in 66 patients, which constitutes almost 98.5%. Angiographic success, where we could deploy the stent, was 100%. Clinical success was 100%. There were no major in-hospital complications, and 30-day follow-up results showed no MACE. Pseudoaneurysm developed in 1 patient, and 1 patient required a repeat hospitalization due to chronic renal failure. Now, let me show you some of the cineangiograms in the real-world lesions. Now, this is the first case. Distal was 3 into 40, mid was 3.5 into 40, and then we did a bifurcation stenting with a PDA being stented with a 2.75 into 28 millimeter abdominal stent using a tap technique. And then this was followed at last with the osteoproximal RCA, which was 3.5 into 40. And this is the final result. Absolutely normal looking vessel, including the bifurcation. Now, second case is a long in-stent restenosis in the right coronary artery. Again, you can see here the both the proximal to mid segment and part of the distal segment are all diffusely diseased because of in-stent restenosis. And so first patient underwent a rotablation using 1.25 millimeter burr, followed by 1.5 millimeter burr. And this was followed by deployment of 2 albuminous stents. Distally 2.75 into 24 and approximately 3 into 40. Next case is a CTO of in-stent restenosis in RCA with distal bifurcation in PLV branches. Now, this is a case which was done only recently, and you can see here that this is a stent which was deployed almost about 2 years ago. A patient came back with some disease, even the left side, so those lesions were treated, and then we attempted this RCA in-stent restenosis, and took some time to cross it with a Conquest Pro. And after Conquest Pro, serial balloon dilatations were done, and you can see a lot of cracks and sections. We had no problem in tracking a long abdominal stent right from right coronary artery distal part to the PLV, and this long stent was deployed from distal RCA to PLV. And following this, we cross the side branch through the cells of the stent, and then deployed a stent in the side branch or in the branch from the PLV using again the abdominus 2.5 into 40 using a tap technique. And then following that, a kissing balloon dilatation was done, and this is the final result. So quite a satisfactory result. Now, this is a diffuse disease LCX and OM bifurcation. Most of these are very complex cases. You can see here that is a high-grade stenosis involving the circumflex and 2 obtuse marginal branches. Well, we deployed 2 abluminus in OM2. It was 2.5 into 28, and OM1, LCX to OM1 was 2.75 into 40. And then this was the final result. Now, this is a case of anterior wall STEMI. This is a patient who came with extensive anterior wall MI, was moderately having a moderate to severe pain, and was hypotensive. And so we immediately crossed the wire and then placed the wire also in the septal branch, not to allow it to occlude because it's a very important septal branch. And then deployed a voluminous stent, which was 3.5 into 28 millimeter. And the result was excellent. So this is the final result, TIMI-3 Pro. Now, case of the left main. This is a left main osteo to shaft, and straight away we went ahead and did a balloon dilatation, and then deployed a 4 into 12 millimeter abdominal stent, and you can see here the final result is excellent, TIMI-3 Pro. And then lastly, just to show you how excellently this stent can be tracked into a long calcific stenosis in a vessel which is arising at a 90-degree angle from the left main. This is a LMCA bifurcation stenting using reverse technique. Now you see the origin of this LCX, which is almost 90-degree from the left main. We first did a IVOS on this patient, which I'm not going to show you. There was a very high-grade stenosis with heavily calcified artery. And then we deployed we did a rota here, which I'm not going to show you. And then deployed a long DES, which tracked very easily into the circumflex, which was taking a 90-degree angle. And there was a stenosis at the ostium of the LAD, which got aggravated after the stent was deployed. So we had to deploy another stent from LAD backwards into the left main. And this is the final result. So you can see here that again there is excellent result. And lastly, distal bifurcation of LMCA. Distal bifurcation of LMCA using DK crush and RC osteal stenosis. You can see here there is a tight stenosis at the ostium of the right coronary artery and a distal LMCA bifurcation stenosis. All were first we treated the RCA osteal stenosis using a rotablator 1.5 millimeter bar, and this was followed by 4 into 16 millimeter abdominal stent, and excellent result. And then we went on to treat the left main bifurcation. Along with that, there was also stenosis in the diagonal. So we did a rota of the LMCA distal going up to into the diagonal branch, and then deployed stent into the diagonal branch, and then treated the LMCA bifurcation with the final result, which is excellent both in the LMCA bifurcation as well as LAD diagonal bifurcation. Now, why this stent is comparable or in fact better as compared to the other Indian DES? Let me put a few features. First of all, abdominal coating, which of course is also there with Yukon choice flux. So abdominal coating is very important in providing unidirectional drug release, which facilitates faster re-endothelialization. Then this is the only stent which has got a fission coating. Both the stent as well as exposed part of the balloon has been coated, and this is done after the stent is crimped onto the balloon, and then a coating is done. And this facilitates homogeneous delivery of the drug in diffuse and long lesions, which is not provided by any other stent. Then there is an edge coating, which is again not available with any other Indian stent. 0.5 millimeter of the additional edges of the stents have been coated with the sirolimus, and this is done to address the issue of edge restenosis. Then crossing profile is lowest amongst all the Indian stents, 0.85 millimeter for a 2.5 millimeter stent, which leads to certainly better crossability. Strut thickness is comparable to others, but has been kept a little higher so as to provide a better radial and axial support. And lastly, the stent design. It is a both open and closed cell design, which provides a both flexibility, zero foreshortening, adequate scaffolding, and prevents plaque prolapse. So, friends, I conclude my talk by these 5 features. Abluminous DES is an innovative concept of drug coating resulting in homogeneous delivery of the drug. It provides excellent angiographic result without any recoil and foreshortening. There is no incidence of acute and subacute stent thrombosis in our ongoing observational study. There is excellent performance in real-world lesions, and I've shown you 8 cases, including highly complex stenotic lesions. We have been unsuccessful in negotiating the stent at target site only in one site, And 66, we were successful out of 67 stents. And there was no maze at 30 days of follow-up. And looking at this, I must thank the innovator of the stent, Mr. Manish Doshi, for his innovative technology and his company friends. They developed this stent particularly useful in diabetic patients, for which they received a national award from the Honorable President of India. Thank you very much.
Sir, actually, it was a wonderful presentation. I just have one or two comments and doubts. Number one, sir, in all the ISR, you prefer to use a stent. Why you did not try a drug-eluting balloon, sir? And number two, you told there is a comparison with the Indian stents, it is superior. What is the comparison with the FDA-approved stents, sir?
To answer your first question, my philosophy, which is based on facts and my observations, is that instant restenosis is one of the most difficult things to treat. And whatever you may do, even after ROTA, it is difficult to get rid of the intimal hyperplasia which has been there. And only after deploying a stent, even then you leave a possibly 20-30% residual stenosis in some of the cases where the artery is large and there is a severe intimal hyperplasia. Now, for a drug-coated balloon, the first principle which I have learned is that you must get a good lumen. Must get a good lumen with a balloon. And if you get a good lumen, then only the drug-coated balloon is going to prevent re-restenosis. Now, this is impossible with a intimal hyperplasia in a large artery, resulting into instant restenosis. So therefore, I am not very convinced that a drug-coated balloon alone is going to work. You may use possibly a cutting balloon. You may then possibly get a good lumen, and over and above that, you may do a drug-coated balloon. But believe me, I am not convinced that without drilling, and I do almost ROTA in all my cases of intimal hyperplasia, which is more than 1 year, and then follow it up with a deployment of a stent. Now, the second question is comparison with the Indian stent and comparison with the multinational stent. Now, this comparison is only a theoretical comparison. We have no clinical data to compare it to other stents. It's an ongoing study by Antonio Colombo, where he's comparing abluminous with the everolimus eluting stent in 150 patients in a 2:1 randomized study in diabetic patients. I think the results would be out in a short while. So I think theoretically, yes, it does look to be a better stent as compared to other Indian stents, but we must translate this theory into clinical practice.
So it's a very nice presentation by Dr. Gambhir, and it's nice to see the very interesting cases being done with this. And we have done also about more than 50-60 patients, and I have implanted about 100 stents earlier also. So I'm quite convinced that this deliverability, everything is fine. The concept is very good, that you are delivering drug through the balloon and also through the stent. But I think still, we must plan to do a study comparing, as Pratap also said, that we need to have this data now, and because it is high time that we do a head-to-head comparison, and also in different subsets like instant restenosis. Again, an instant restenosis, it is one's own choice. But certainly drug-eluting balloons are a good choice in this kind of situation. And one cannot say that DEB is not a good option in instant restenosis. One has to do, debulking therapy in many of these patients. And if you get a stent-like result, just do a DEB and it works out pretty well. So with this, I think, we are at the stage that we can say that this device is a promising device. It is, nice that, it has been developed in India. And certainly it's going to go far. And if we do some meaningful studies, it will be a very good idea with this device.
I think Praveen has taken away words from my mouth. I think I totally agree with you, Praveen, that we must show to the world. When I developed Infinium with Shahjahan and Manish Doshi was with me, and when we presented the second drug-eluting stent after Cypher in EuroPCR in the year 2005 or 6.
Yes.
There was a standing ovation that the Indians got that this is the first outside USA stent. So therefore, I think since the stent has behaved so well, we must do and show that this is as good as multinational stents, and this can only be possible by initiating a multi-centric study in India and carrying it out in a different subset of patients.
Or it can be even better. Who knows?
In some other situations, it is better.
Why not? Why not?
Okay. So I think we are done with this because it's already 11:57.
I
And
think there have been two more chairs are there. I think any comments from other people?
Dr. Padi. His mic is muted. Mic is muted, Dr. Padi.
A dedicated registry, I am one of the principal investigator. I have used more than 200 or 300 stents. I have one of the stents, and with 1 year follow-up, I have already done around 100 patients. There is no diagnosis, all are doing well. This device may be future stent, but I believe.
Okay. We see Dr. Ashwin Mehta and Dr. Tarun, VT Shah, Tarun, if they want to make a comment, there is some 1 minute or so. No. Okay, so I think, this was wonderful and very thought
Thank you very much, Praveen. Thank you, Pratap, and all the other panelists. And I must thank the innovators of this stent for giving me an opportunity to present this wonderful data.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.